He is Chris Mad Dog Russo. How are you, Christopher?
Mr. Eisen, how you doing, big guy? Okay.
Better for chatting with you. Better for chatting with you.
You were all over that Bill and Bill ESPN documentary with the early look way back in 1998. Did you see that?
What do you mean by early look?
Well, the
Chris?
ESPN, you looked handsome. You looked like a 24-year-old kid out of Staten Island. He looked tremendous.
And what do I look like now, Christopher?
No, yeah, a little more grizzled. Let's put it that way. But I mean, you were so young looking. My God,
know.
Did you see it?
I did. Well, actually, I have yet to see it. It's been sitting on my DVR. It was I think they aired it the Friday before Super Bowl 52. So I was, out and about. I haven't seen it yet. But all I know is my Twitter feed was filled with photographs and screen grabs. I thought they did a 30 for 30 on my hairline, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's possible too. But it was good, and you came across well. Okay, what is your little cockamamie idea as far as Major League Baseball is concerned?
First of all, my little cockamamie idea was an idea that was proposed to me in a social setting by a Major League Baseball executive of note, saying to me, "What do you think of this idea?" I'm like, "Well, that would definitely inflame a bunch of traditionalists, but it's interesting. Can I say it on my air?" This executive said, "Not yet." When all the rules came out this past week that seems to be ready for 2018 play about the mound visits and all that, I emailed the executive saying, "Can I say it on the air?" And the executive said, "Go ahead." So what do you think of this idea?
It's not a terrible idea. It's something different. I mean, the idea, of course, is that the team trailing in the ninth inning, home or away, can pick their lineup who they want up. Is that what you said?
Well, we're basically anybody who's trailing in the ninth inning, whether you're the away team and needing to push it to the bottom of the ninth or extras, or you're in the bottom of the ninth, you're the home team, you could put up whoever you want to bat the first three in the order. In the ninth inning, anybody, you can, even
it's
if 3-4.
It's not a terrible idea. Baseball is trying to do everything they can, as you know better than anybody, of sprucing up their offense. With the advent of the reliever and how good the relief pitcher is, and all the strikeouts, they're trying to create a little excitement, almost like the NBA going to half court. With the last second shot, call the timeout, advance the ball, which they never used to do until 20 years ago. They wanted to have some excitement at the end, and they're trying to jazz it up and figure out a way to combat the accent of the great relief pitcher and find a little zest and a little offense, a little highlight material in the ninth inning. So it's not a terrible idea. Now, they're never going to do it.
Right.
But it's not a terrible idea. I mean, it's brainstorming. They've come up with a lot of crazy things. We all know about the extra innings start with a man on first and second or whatever it was. We saw that during the World Baseball Classic. So they're trying to come up with anything they can to create more rallies in the last 3 innings of these games. And so that right there is probably a couple cocktails, all the executives hanging around on Park Avenue. What could we do to feed the rich Eisen, and he can get the world to talk about it? And they succeeded. And again, you know what? I give you credit. That's something interesting, something different. I would not balk at that. Now, again, baseball is so stuck in tradition they won't do it, but it's not a terrible idea.
Well, I said it earlier in the show. I'll tell you, this is not. From what I found out yesterday, it's not close to fruition. I mean, this is just an idea that's being thrown out there by an executive with some juice to try and juice things up, I guess, when everybody's sitting around about what can be done. And I guess that's the ultimate thing, is that there is constant conversation about what can be done. Do you think something needs to be done?
Yes, I do. I think the biggest issue I have with the sport right now, Rich, as far as the dead time and the length of games and, the lack of offense outside of hitting the ball out of the ballpark, is the advent of the relief pitcher. I think that is the biggest problem that we have. Why was that Houston Yankees series so much fun in certain regards? Because Verlander had a pitch as great as he did to keep the Astros in the mix in games 2 and 6. You need the big star to have to fight his way through these games, the Kershaws of the world, 7th, 8th, 9th inning. That's why Bumgarner was a lot of fun. And with so many great relievers, anonymous relievers who you and I have never heard of,
right,
who, pitch to one batter and throw 100 miles an hour and strike him out with 3 pitches, and then the manager's got to go out there, take him out of the game, bring another reliever in, and this goes on and on and on, especially in September when these bullpens are fortified by their minor leaguers and the games games drag, and there's no offense, and all we see is a bunch of strikeouts because of the great reliever. And I think that needs to be combated. So how they do that, I would suggest making sure at least a little step that every time you bring a reliever in, he has to face 2 batters instead of just 1.
Interesting.
I mean, that at least eliminates the idea of the lefty specialist, where if he comes in to face the lefty, and let's say Bryce Harper, he's got to stay in here to face Ryan Zimmerman. I mean, at least put a little strategy into the whole situation. Now, whether they do that, we all saw how hard it was just to get this silly mound visits incorporated into the sport. If they can ever get that through the Players Association, that would be something I would be for, to be honest with you.
Chris Mad Dog Russo of Mad Dog Sports Radio on Sirius and High Heat on MLB Network here on the Rich Eisen Show. Ask him the poll question that was borne out, Brockman, last night of the gold medal game that came down in women's hockey to a shootout.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Go for it, Chris.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
We already have our answer.
I don't like that. Now, listen, they played 4-on-4 in the overtime, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so they took the one skater. I don't even like that. I don't like those gimmicks in knockout play in the Olympics. I don't mind doing it in the qualifying stage, the first 3 games. I don't like to do it in knockout play. Now, again, I went to bed after the first period because East Coast, that game started at 11:10. So I did not see the game live. So I can't, I'm not sure how I would have felt watching it, but it's almost a little bit like the soccer, the World Cup soccer, which goes on, and they do the shootout.
Well,
I don't like that. I would have played until they dropped and scored a goal normally in that situation.
So that's the poll question: is who's got the best overtime? College football, pro football? You've got obviously
it's a good poll question.
Soccer and hockey.
I would say pro football.
You like pro football above
Very
college football?
So. Because I think, the gimmicky with college football. I like pro football, the NFL, Rich, because, it gives the defense. They can't. It rewards the offense for scoring a touchdown, and it gives the other team's offense a chance if it's just a field goal. I like that a lot in the NFL. I think they do a good job in the NFL. You should not get the ball back like the Falcons if you can't stop the team from scoring a touchdown. I think they have the best system. The World Cup soccer I don't like at all. I don't think you decide these World Cup games by shootouts. I know that's a little trickier because it's harder to score goals in soccer, but I do not like settling gold medal games in hockey. They play one meaningful game every 4 years. You got to settle it on a shootout? I don't like that at all, to be honest with you.
Couple more minutes with Mad Dog Russo. What do you think of the idea of Kirk Cousins in New York? You obviously know what it's like to play in the crucible of that city.
Rich, I don't think that's a good idea either. First off, this is a guy who has never won a playoff game, who when he's had a couple of chances late in the season to steer his team into the postseason, Carolina Giants 2 years ago, he was outplayed by Rodgers, which is not the worst thing. In that Green Bay playoff game, he has not responded. You cannot give him $30 million a year on his Jet team, especially with the Jets with the 6th pick, who are going to get a quarterback in some capacity. I mean, whether it's Baker Mayfield, A.J. McCarron, somebody from the Vikings. I mean, the 3 guys who are coming out, and Allen, Rosen, and Darnold, somewhere along the line, if they do their work right, they're going to get a good college quarterback or a good backup in the NFL. To spend $30-something million on a guy who, let's be honest, is not top 10 in the league. He is not a top 10 quarterback. I understand the prices of quarterbacks. That's what it is. I get it. You have to have one. I get that. I would not do that if I'm the Jets, to be honest with you. He's never won a playoff game, Rich, for crying out loud.
I know. And then all he's got to do is just have 1 2-pick game up in New England, and then it's just.
And we're all screaming and yelling. How could the Jets spend a quarterback $34 million? So I don't know where Cousins is. I don't know why Cousins would go to the Jets either. I mean, he's got the Giants across the street. He's got still Brady and Belichick to worry about. The Jets don't have a great history. I would even be surprised if that's where he'd want to go. But if I were the Jet organization, I know the fans want him in the worst way. They want a QB. I would not go near him myself.
If I was him, I'd want to go to Denver. Go to Denver.
I said the same thing. The only thing that would make you a little nervous about that for Denver is he's kind of following Peyton Manning, and maybe he doesn't want to be compared to him. Arizona wouldn't be a bad place either.
That's true.
Good weather, Fitzgerald, David Johnson, pretty decent defense. That wouldn't be the worst place either. But we'll see.
Last one for you, Chris. I had John Smoltz on the show last week. We talked about, Dodgers, Yankees, Houston, et cetera, the usuals, and then said, don't sleep on the San Francisco Giants. What do you think about your Giants?
I think that's a good possibility. I think if you look at it right now, Rich, there are only 7 teams in baseball right this second that, barring something nutty, really have a chance to win a World Series. 7. You know, the Nationals, the Cubs, the Dodgers, Houston is 4, Cleveland 5, Yankees and Red Sox is 7. Maybe you want to add the Mets or something, but I'll say 7. And there's 8 teams after the wild card round that still got a chance. So why can't one of those teams be San Francisco? They do have the 2 big pitchers at the top of the rotation. You got to figure Melanson will come back and pitch pretty well. Longoria should be motivated. You bring in McCutchen playing for a contract. Posey's still sitting there. They're coming off a lousy season. It's a hard division. But they got a good manager too. I think the Giants will be pretty good. I agree with that.
And then and in the Mets rotation, all they need is some offense. Maybe Tebow could provide it based on what Sandy Alderson
That's another joke. Tebow now is going to be in the major leagues. That's ridiculous. What is this, a carnival act? Here's when I'll take the Mets seriously about Tebow.
Yep.
When they disallow him to work for the SEC network with college football.
When they say you may not be with Paul Feinbaum.
I want you in Arizona
Mickey.
in the instructional league. That's when I'll take them seriously. I want you in Port St. Lucie training. I don't want you doing games on weekends with the SEC. That's when I'll take them that seriously, that they think that Tebow can go out there and help them. What else is? I'm going on vacation Sunday, Rich. I'm looking forward to it.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Grenada. Down in the Caribbean.
Really?
I was going to visit you in California, but I didn't get the invite.
Chris, please, it's a standing invitation.
I didn't get one. Last summer I went to Laguna, and I stayed at that Montage, and I texted your producers and everything, and not any feedback. That disturbed me.
That cannot be true, Chris. That is
Richard. That is true,
Christopher. And all right. Now I'm gonna have to have an organizational meeting of the Rich Eisen Show. We're gonna get this thing done. And then we're going to pass this rule in Major League Baseball.
And my daughter, I like that. And my daughter might go to USC, so I'll be out there a lot. Maybe you can have a cup of coffee with me one place.
Listen,
at a place.
Chris, Dan Patrick's 2 kids went to USC. One of them still does.
Really?
Yes, and they have substituted on occasion as babysitters in my house for my young kids.
Oh, really? With your young kids? I didn't know this.
My wife and I have fed the Patrick children for years and years and years.
I did not know. This is news.
Let's keep going.
Something different.
Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Let's do it, Chris. Okay?
Keep up the good work, Richard, big guy.
Same to you. Christopher.
Okay, babe.
All right, Christopher. There's Christopher Mad Dog Russo here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.